The day I married Ethan, I didn't marry a man. I married a promise of stability. He was the kind of man you brought home to your parents, reliable, kind, successful, and utterly predictable. We lived in a stunning home, hosted perfect dinner parties, and had a life sculpted out of expensive marble and quiet evenings. But for me, the predictability was a slow, beautiful smothering. I was missing fire, passion, the kind of breathless excitement that made you forget your own name. And then I found Leo. Leo was Ethan's complete opposite. A sculptor with hands perpetually stained with clay, a man who saw the world in vibrant, messy colors. Our affair was a secret storm of passion. It wasn't just physical. Leo talked about my dreams, about the artist I gave up being, about the vibrant woman hidden beneath the perfect wife facade. Every glance, every whispered meeting in his cluttered studio felt like an act of rebellion, a desperate fight for my own soul. I thought I was an expert at my double life. I meticulously deleted texts, created elaborate excuses for late nights, and perfected the art of polite, distant affection with Ethan. He never questioned me. He never looked suspicious. He just looked tired. Sometimes he'd watch me across the breakfast table, his eyes holding a profound, gentle sadness that I chose to ignore, convincing myself it was just the stress of running his investment firm. My guilt was a constant companion, but I justified it. Ethan was safe, comfortable. Leo was life. I was planning to leave Ethan right after our third anniversary. I felt I deserved happiness, and I told myself Ethan was strong enough to handle the blow. The day before our anniversary, I received a cryptic, unmarked envelope in the mail. Inside was a flash drive. My heart hammered against my ribs. Was it Ethan? Had he found out? I plugged it into my laptop, my hands shaking. It wasn't surveillance footage. It was a digital folder filled with CAD drawings and architectural schematics of Leo's studio building. Leo had always told me he was struggling to afford the rent, dreaming of buying the building to secure his future. Under the architectural files was a single text document, titled Arrangement. The first line stopped my breathing. Transfer of property ownership to Leo Maxwell, effective upon receipt of final installment. I scrolled down, reading the contract between the building's owner and a silent purchaser who had been acquiring the entire building piece by piece over the last 2 years. The final page contained the signature of the anonymous purchaser, and my vision blurred as I read the elegant, familiar handwriting. Ethan Vance. Ethan hadn't just bought the building, he had been systematically buying every asset. The struggling coffee shop Leo loved, the dilapidated park bench where we had our first kiss, the tiny, expensive antique clock Leo had always admired in a storefront window. Everything I cherished, everything Leo needed to sustain his artistic life, had been quietly purchased and secured by my husband. I raced to his study. He was sitting in his leather armchair, not working, just staring out the window at the rain. He looked smaller than usual. "The studio," I whispered, holding up the flash drive. "The building. You bought it." He didn't turn around. "Yes, Eliza. For Leo. It closes next week." Tears sprang to my eyes, but they were not tears of gratitude. They were tears of confusion and shame. Why? Why would you do this? To spite him? To show off your power? Ethan finally turned. His eyes, usually calm and composed, were wet and bloodshot. "I did it because you look at him the way you've never looked at me. When you talk about his studio, about his dreams, your face lights up. You deserve that light, Eliza." He stood up, walking slowly towards me, and then stopped short of touching me. "I found out about Leo 6 months ago. The day you forgot to delete a message on the kitchen counter. You called him my North Star. I knew then I had lost you. The expected anger, the fury, the confrontation, it was all absent. There was only a devastating, quiet pity in his voice. You married me because I was safe, Eliza. You stayed with me because I was stable. But I realized I was a cage. If I screamed, if I fought, if I tried to keep you, I would just be holding you captive, and you would hate me forever. He reached into his pocket and pulled out a small, folded piece of paper. It wasn't a contract. It was a list. A list I instantly recognized. Leo's wish list. It was a scribbled note of things Leo desperately needed for his studio. A kiln that never failed, a high-powered lighting system, new ventilation. He had copied it from my bedside table weeks ago when I was distracted. I decided I couldn't be your husband anymore, he continued, his voice cracking. But I could be the ghost who gave you happiness. Every late night, every canceled trip, every distant look wasn't because I was working. It was because I was securing that kiln, talking to lawyers about the park bench property line, making sure Leo's dreams wouldn't fail because of money. I knew if his dreams failed, your love would die, and you'd be stuck with me again. He dropped the list on the floor. I've signed the divorce papers. The house is yours. I've already arranged for a quiet long-term sabbatical to Asia for business. No one needs to know about Leo. You can simply say we grew apart. That studio will be Leo's, forever secure. You can start your life, Eliza, with the man who makes you feel alive. He looked at me, his eyes full of the kind of devastating, gentle love I'd been too blind to see for 3 years. Just be happy, Eliza. You chased a flame, and I became the quiet fuel, ensuring it never went out. He walked past me, leaving the room, and the door clicked shut. I stood there, surrounded by the wreckage of my own self-justification, the flash drive cold in my hand. I had mistaken his profound, selfless love for cold indifference. I had mistaken my husband for a prison warden when, in reality, he was the only one who had ever truly seen my desire for freedom and had risked his own heart to secretly build the beautiful, stable world I needed to run to. I felt a paralyzing wave of sorrow and profound pity for the man who had loved me so much that he had endured 2 years of watching me fall in love with another man just so I could be free. He didn't want the drama or the pain of a fight. He just wanted my joy, even if it cost him everything. The guilt of my betrayal, now mixed with the agony of his quiet sacrifice, felt like a physical weight that would never leave me. I was free, but I was suddenly and devastatingly alone with the truth of his immeasurable, agonizing love. I sank to the floor, holding the flash drive, realizing the real tragedy wasn't my unhappy marriage, but my failure to recognize the strength of the quiet, stable love that had been protecting me all along.